Hello students, it doesn't matter if you're still struggling with 2-move checkmates or 3-move checkmates. We have to do some 4-move checkmate training before we move on to our next lesson. And that's because more than you find in the answer to these exercises, I need you to learn how to use this kind of training to make it to the next level faster. So I'm here on chess.com and I'm going to hit custom, and I put between 2000 and 2300, and we're going to be doing 4-move checkmates. Now, quickly before we start, how do we use these kind of exercises to make it to the next level if you're still struggling with 2 or 3-move checkmates? Well, this is the idea. If you're a person that typically work on 2-move checkmates, from time to time, just set up a 4-move checkmate on your board and try to work on it. Even if you never solve it, after a while, when you give up, you go to the back of the book and you look at the answer. And then without moving the pieces, try to visualize the moves from the answer. And the fact that you guys are doing this, it is helping you with your calculation, but also you're acquiring new ideas from the answer. So you see how they do it, and then you could incorporate that, and one day, without noticing it, you're going to be calculating better. But the most important thing is that you work on it from some time, and when you finally look at the answer, you do it in your head. And trust me guys, sooner than later, you're going to be able to calculate 3, 4, and more moves. So that's exactly what this kind of training is supposed to help you with. So again, I'm here with my rating set up. I'm not going to do 4 moves right now because I like to warm up with mating 3 moves. So we're going to do 2 of these exercises, checkmate in 3 moves. And after we do that, then we're going to move on to 4-move checkmates. Now guys, before I hit start, there are 2 things that I want you to know. You should know by now that every time they give us a new position, you should pause the video and try to work on it yourself. Only after you listen to what I have to say. It is only going to help you. And the other thing is that I chose to do it on chess.com instead of just showing you positions that I picked, because I want these exercises to be new to me. That way you can see how I approach them and how I think whenever I try to solve these exercises. I'm gonna hit start. So the first thing that comes to mind is I'm looking at my pieces. I have a rook on this file. I have the knight in their territory close by, able to check. I have my queen being able to come over. So the first thing that comes to mind is the check. So I'm looking at check, I'm looking at check. I want to look for forcing variation. So I'm looking at rook takes check, king takes, queen h3 check. If the king takes the knight, checkmate. If the king goes down, then I'm going to go to h1, check. They have to take the knight, and then queen h2, checkmate. So I'm going to do it in my head again. I don't want to just do it quickly. Unless I'm playing a game where I have a few seconds left, I'm not going to rush it. So I'm already excited. It looks like it works. So again, rook takes, king has to take, only move. Then my queen goes to h3, check. That king has to go down or take the knight. If he takes the knight, I have a checkmate. Perfect. If he goes down, then check. The king has to take the knight, and I get the same checkmate. So now I do it on the board. Check and checkmate. All right, so I'm gonna do one more 3-move checkmate to warm up, and then we move on to 4-move checkmates. All right, so I'm the white pieces to move, and same thing. I'm looking at the checks. So I have a check here, I have a check here, and a check over here. Okay, so I also see a discovered attack. So yeah, it definitely has to be check, king moves, followed by check and checkmate. So that's it, check. Now, many of you guys, maybe you saw the discover attack before anything else. Great. So checkmate. Now for the 4-move checkmates, I'm going to change this to 2500, and I'm going to increase this to 2200. So I'm going to hit start, and let's see what we get. So we're looking at 4-move checkmates. I'm already looking at this check because I realized there was a pin on the pawn. So check. If the king goes here, checkmate. So I'm happy about that. Now, what if the king goes to h8? I have to have a 4-move checkmate. Now, I think the move is going to be, it has to be bishop f7 followed by, nah, it cannot be. Whenever you do these checkmates, guys, make sure that you see the whole thing. If not, don't even bother. So queen g6 is a good candidate move, but maybe it's this one right away. So if we have this check, notice that the king is forced to do only one move. Then knight g5 is another forcing move, check. The king can only go to e7 or to g8. Now, if he goes to g8, I think I have queen g6. If the king goes to f8, checkmate. if the king goes to h8, checkmate. Now guys, don't worry, we're going to go slower, we're going to go over it. Now, the other variation is check, king takes, knight g5. What if the king goes to e7? Well, I see my queen comes in now with a check, and the king cannot go anywhere, so that's checkmate. All right, so in case you didn't get it, in case it went too fast, it was a little bit blurry, let's do it slower. I'm not sure if with the arrows is easier for you or not, but I'm looking at bishop takes f7, check. There's no doubt the king has to take. There's nothing else they could do. Then my knight can jump to g5, check. At that point, the king has to go either to e7. There's nothing else. This square is protected by the knight, and the queen is controlling all of these as well as this square. So when the king goes back to g8, now we cannot go here because of the knight. So we have queen g6. Don't forget this pawn is gone. We sacrificed the bishop there. So queen g6, my knight is on g5, and if the king goes here, checkmate. If instead the king happens to go to h8, the queen cannot go to h7 because of the knight. So we just go knight f7, checkmate. So we take, then we have check, check, and checkmate. All right, guys, so we got that one. Feel free to pause the video, go back, see it again until you fully see it without moving the pieces, okay? Let's go to the next one. And don't forget that even if you just look at the answer, it is just helping you. As long as you do it in your head, as long as you visualize it. All right, so this one is white pieces to move again. And we have this check, this check. So let's take a look. And I noticed that when I move my knight with a check, I'm opening this diagonal. So let's see. Check, king goes here. Oh, I think I know what it is. Then I take, he takes back, check, the king has to go down and checkmate. Yeah. So you see, this one I have to be honest. I calculated it, but I've seen this theme before. So it was really easy for me to connect the dots. So first move, knight f7 check, the bishop takes. Now, what if the king goes here instead? I have to calculate that. Well, if knight f7, well, let's do that after. So knight f7, bishop takes. Now, my queen takes on g7. They have to take me with the king, there's nothing else. Then my bishop gets on this diagonal, and since this is going to be the bishop and not the pawn, they cannot block it. So the king has to go down, my knight is controlling this too, and once they go down, we have knight and bishop checkmate. So I'm going to do it on the board, but what if I cannot go on and do it, guys, especially if this is a game. If it were a real game, I want to make sure that I see the whole thing before I do it. So knight f7, what if the king goes here? Well, I'm thinking knight h6 check, only move is to take with the bishop, and then knight takes h6 checkmate. So the knight is hitting the king, controlling f7, and this queen is controlling the whole diagonal. So again, feel free to go back and review it, but this is definitely the move. Another thing, guys, is sometimes we look at this one first, and if it doesn't work, then you look at the other one. So always look at your candidate moves. So check, 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 and then checkmate. I've seen this pattern so many times, the bishop and the knight. So when I calculated the first two moves, everything seemed familiar already to me. So, and this is what I meant by, if you do this just by looking at the answer, you have a tactics book at home, you set up the tactic, you worked on it, you didn't find it, you go back to the answer on the back of the book, and as you reproduce it, you're getting familiarized with all of these patterns. Anyways, let's go to the next one. And here we have the black pieces. I think this is similar to the one we just did, right? So take, knight g4. Oh yeah, it's the same thing. So guys, this is the same thing we did before, check. So you see, we recognize a pattern, and then we just do it. So I think this is exactly the same, just colors reversed as the first one. I mean, it was good because that way you can see that if you understand the pattern, if you've seen it before, if your calculation is good, you can do these regardless of the side of the board. All right, next one. Okay, here we have the white pieces. Right away, I'm looking at this check, knight on check on h6, check on e7, rook e8. If they block, check, and then we take that checkmate. But what if they take here? I mean, it doesn't look like bishop and knight can do. Nope. Knight h6, they take. You see, knight h6, I know it's not the move because this doesn't add anything. They just take, And if anything, we're helping the king get out. 97. I mean, they could even sacrifice the queen and then take the bishop. And there's no checkmate. Okay, so this one, I know it's not that forcing. So I think the move is bishop b3. And it makes sense, we're getting that queen. And after we get that queen, we are winning. It's knight and rook versus knight. But then the checkmate occurs if they accept it. So try to do that, guys. So try to go bishop e3, queen takes, and now you have the check. Yeah, now you have the checkmate. So this is what I'm calculating. Bishop e3, queen takes. Now I go with check, only move. Then my knight goes to d6, protecting the rook and attacking the king. So what is the only move for the king? To go to g6. So this is what? 1, 2, 3. Then we have check, and that's the fourth. If the king goes to h6, I think this is going to be, oh no, not f5. Oh yeah, not f5, check. The king goes to g5 and then f4, and that's checkmate. Wow, this is like 5 or 6 moves. So let's do it again. Bishop b3, queen takes, rook e8, king goes to f7, knight d6. At that point, guys, see if you can visualize this position. The knight is on d6, the rook is on e8, the king is on f7, this queen is gone to b3. So the king has to go to g6. Now, what check do I have? h5, that's a move. The king has to go here or here, and if he goes to g5 right away, I go f4, king goes to h6, and knight f5 is checkmate. If he had gone to h6 first, we change the move order. So knight f5 first, king g5, and then f4. Now, I'm pretty sure this is blurry for you, but it doesn't matter. Just pause the video, try to do it all over again, slowly. So now you know the idea. And if you were not able to see it, try doing it from this position. Look, this is the first move they take. I think now is when you should calculate and see if you can visualize the whole thing. So check, check, and check. You see, he decided to go here. We anticipated that. Check, and then checkmate. I almost went to f7, but the queen is there. So we have to be clear about this. And that's checkmate. All right, guys, so we're going to do one more, and let's see how it goes. All right, so with the black pieces, I think this one is going to be extremely easy. It's looking like, no, this is not the one. I thought it was this first, but then it looks like it's this one. So if I go here first, the king takes, then I go down, it just doesn't make any sense. The king could get out, they could block with the queen, worst case scenario. Now, if we take here first, they have two options, either going back, in which case we just take the rook checkmate, or they take here. So I was thinking rook goes down, they block, and then checkmate. But what if they block here? So am I missing something or what? They take, check, they block, take. That doesn't make any sense. What am I missing here? Rook here right away? Is that it? If they put me in check, I hide, and then they cannot stop the checkmate. If they take, then I go check and checkmate. Well, guys, this one, to be honest, is not as straightforward as I wish it were, but doesn't matter, still good practice. So I think the first move is actually rook c1. So you have to calculate that if they go check, you have to hide, they don't have anything else, and then you have checkmate forced. Or they have to give you a lot of material by doing queen d1. So let me go rook c1, check, check, and checkmate. All right, I hate it when they do this on chess.com, that they don't give you exactly what you're looking for. But in a way, this is extremely good, because if you calculate this, you're looking at the forcing variations, you don't see anything concrete, then stop calculating that. Just learn to move on to something else and look at other ideas. Because guess what? In a real game, it is going to be more like this and not so ideal as we expected. So I hope you found this lesson useful and it wasn't confusing. Next lesson, we're going to have something very special, but I wanted to get this done first. I trust that you are training tactics on your own consistently, because you've heard me say this many times. Training tactics is just extremely important. It has to be a part of your training. So with that said, leave me any comments or questions in the comment section, and I will talk to you guys next time.